So first, let's start with the how to win in the business network guide, how to seamless collaborate, and what kind of things you need to consider when you are starting working with a different business network, how you automate your processes, what you should take into account, what it means working in the different business network. Just to put in the kind of the how to say it, what is basically the business network? Of course, business network can be also a group of people basically talking about some topic. It can be industry-related network. It can be as well something that is like a digital platform, as we are focusing mainly here today. So basically, in the business network, of course, it's a kind of system that connects organizations, people. It might be individuals, entities. They collaborate, exchange information, and conduct business within the business networks. And of course, as I said, it might contain a lot of different stakeholders, different service providers. I think as Janina mentioned today, we're focusing on the sales processes and as well with procurement processes mainly. So basically, it can hold multiple stakeholders within the business network. This is a really interesting, and that's why it is really interesting and complex scenario and topic. And that's why it's really good to have a discussion kind of the experience that all of us has had in this area and topic. If you look at the kind of the business results and what is the kind of the most important, these are just few things that I listed or raised here. So how do we get real business results within the business network? So there is a multiple things that we need to, of course, take into account. But one thing is always, of course, how to automate the processes, how to get the best possible data, how to make sure that you are reaching the savings that you are looking for within your supply chain, for example. So it's really relevant for the kind of the business operations side. And then, of course, reliable. So suppliers can help their buyers to achieve those goals that they have set. And of course, the one important thing is also that you collaborate more closely with your business partners, and you also boost your customer satisfaction. In the later on in the presentation, I will go a little bit through on these different metrics that you could have when you are setting up these project or process to building a working with a different business network. And then, of course, sustainability. You have some social goals, you have some kind of economic goals, and of course the digital business network help you to collect the data, share the data, making sure that your supply chain is sustainable. You can have different kind of initiatives in your supply chain or sustainability goals, and of course that is making sure the different business network that you can see all the processes end to end. And you're working as a sustainable within your supply chain as well. So, what is the kind of the role of business network in modern organization? There might be something that I already mentioned. Of course, it's essential, kind of how to say it, essential for modern organization to collaborate, innovate, as I mentioned already before. But just to raise a few things. As said, facilitating those collaboration, innovation, finding new business opportunities. You can when you have built your network and you can have a reach of the, for example, in the sourcing process, you can find new business opportunities through that. Agility, you are agile, you are automated, and then of course you are managing your risk, your resilience. And basically then, as I mentioned, you can get, for example, early warnings if there's something in your supply chain that you need to take into account. And of course, driving digital transformation and sustainability and compliance. So I think these are if you look at, we are really high level, and in presentation going further, we go into details how we make this in practice. But these are high level kind of goals and what it means in the modern organization to work with the business network. And if you look at the business value, I just listed a few things here. Though. So if you look at the business value point of view, so as mentioned already, the seamless collaboration, In the practice, connecting different parties, automating, kind of streamlining the workflow, and real-time visibility. I think this is really clear for everybody. And then of course, the partner relationship and the customer experience also. That how do you get the data from your network? How you share data? How you share information? And in practice, of course, you can, for example, track orders, track shipments, service risks in real time. So basically, you have real-time visibility in your supply chain. But if you look at the key metrics, so this is just things that can be measured when you have these initiatives and you are starting working with the because of course when you start working you need to have a goal, and then basically you need to have some business value out of it. So of course, process efficiency, cost savings, but customer satisfaction. So you can even measure your NPS, or customer retention rate when you're working closely with your customers. You can serve them better within the business network. And then of course, in the end, revenue growth when you do your business better and automated way. I'm just looking my time, but I think I have good time. So as I mentioned, we are going to go through the challenges and the kind of the practicalities more detailed on later in the Sampo's presentation especially, but listing here a few of the common challenges and how to overcome those ones. I think these are in the many companies, as I have been spoken, these are quite similar. Of course, there is a differences how you approach this topic or how wide is your, let's say, network or your complexity of your organization, for example. Different countries might work differently, so you need to take this all into account when you start building these kind of processes and the programs. Of course, the technical integration. I think the technical integration is not the only thing that you should look. You need to look at your processes, way of working. You need to engage with your customer base and internally. But technical integration is something that we always see as a kind of the obstacle if we need to do the real integrations with the different systems, different business networks, different way of operating. So I think that's something that is really important for everybody to take into consideration. I would raise here that one of the important things is that you need to prioritize where you are focusing. Of course, utilizing the scalable platforms, the different APIs or connection methods, but to kind of select where you prioritize, where you focus, and then start to building the connections. Of course, as I mentioned, the organizational structure it's not like a technical thing, but it's something that might be a topic that you need to take into account, how you build your kind of organization structure in the different networks, and make sure that you have the visibility on that one. Then the change management. Yeah, I always raise this quite a lot, but it's something that maybe it's a little bit hard to say that we have resistance to change. But we have been working with a certain way with our partners. Maybe we have some manual processes. Maybe we have close connections, and that still can be. But basically, it might be difficult sometimes to change the way you are working with your partners. And lack of training might be, so we don't really understand how does this affect me or my partner, my supplier, my customer. What should I do to get the better results out of this business network scenario, and what do I need to do myself to get the most out of the benefit? How can I help my customer, for example? And then the leadership buy-in. If we don't have the leadership buy-in that now we are focusing on this, now we are doing this, it might be difficult sometimes to take this further. And to kind of how do you overcome those ones? Of course, internal stakeholders, early adoption, communicate the benefits, and then of course maybe have these kind of change champions within the organization who knows this. This is kind of the general change management that you need to take into account in everywhere, but it's also in this how do you get the win out of the business networks. And then there might be some data privacy things that, for example, your supplier or your customer might raise. How do you make sure that you have a kind of the access controls are in place? Some compliance requirement might raise trust issues. There might be some sensitive information. So of course, then we need to have a process in place also who can access in different levels in organization on the for example some certain platforms. If we talk about the different business networks that we have, and what kind of data we are kind of exchanging within the business networks. If we then go further, so this is kind of one of the let's say examples that how we could look at this one. Basically, this is kind of customer point of view. So I think what the idea is here that we have a kind of 3 objectives that we need to look into, and under this objective we have different topics basically. So all of these that I just went through in our previous slides kind of is here. So basically coordination and planning, building the operating model, how we do things, how we train people, how we make sure some specific customer needs, compliance topics, and then we have this technical integration. You can divide this in different ways, but I think it's really important to not only looking at, as I said, in the technical side, but especially the operating model. I think that's something that is really, really important to look at and make sure that it's in place. Yeah, maybe I already mentioned those one, but key areas to consider. So basically the internal collaboration, commitment, creating the internal organization, ambassadors, as I mentioned before, and designing the operational model. So what's next and how to start? These are quite generic, but I think it's really important to kind of communicate the benefits, making sure that you prioritize your activities that you are doing, clear onboarding and training, whoever is involved internally, working within the business networks or externally. So take your suppliers or customers in early stage into the discussion. What are you trying to achieve? What are you maybe KPIs, not maybe in detail, but that everybody understand what is the kind of the goal. We need to take baby steps, but when you set the goals, then of course you are achieving the baby step goals basically. So we cannot have everything together. And of course, work with the partners who can basically help you with the performance and access to the network, whoever can help you. If it's a technical integration topic, or is it something that you are building with the kind of the operation model or way of working. I think one of the problem is that, as I said, this different business network, it might be a little bit different view on each. And if you encounter organizational structure problem within those networks or technical issue, it's sometimes difficult to get the counterparties from the business network side who can support you on those ones. So that's why it's good to set the goals and try to tackle one thing at a time. Yeah, I think that was my presentation for now. And as I mentioned, we will get more insight in the coming presentations. I think in these topics, but also in the technical side as well. So this was an introduction. Thank you all.